Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video on how to do a cost of supply study. This video will be focusing on how to do Eskom tariff inputs for year one. So basically the main premise of this sheet and this step in the process is to input the tariffs that you will be charged by Eskom for purchasing electricity in bulk from them to then on-sell to your municipal customers. So these are the Eskom tariffs that you're putting in, and you can see here all of the tariffs that you would be familiar with from, say, a mega flex or mini flex. Got energy charge, admin charge, ancillary services, everything like that. And you've got both the high season, and you can see off-peak, standard, and peak for the high season. And then there's also, if you scroll down, the low season over here. This you can do for every one of your intake points, and you'll be able to add or remove those in the index tables, as well as making any changes to these, whether it's the unit of measurement or the name of the charge. It's important in both cases. You'll see these are formulas, and that's a formula. To change them here, don't hard code it. Make the changes in the index table. So if I go here to the index tables, and you see I go up a little bit, I can rename my intake point here. So I'm just going to call it intake point 1. There you go. And then if I go back to the Eskom tariff points, you'll see there it's working. So now it's just important to note at this point that the current setup of the tool is based on the old Eskom Megaflex tariff names. If you have seen the Munich Flex tariffs, you'll know that there's a few changes that have been made, and there are more than 10 charges. The tool currently only allows, if I come back down to row 185, this is where you change the charges. You can see how these look similar to the tool up there. It only allows you to have 10 different kinds of charges. However, some of them have the same units. For example, these two charges here both use Rand per kVA per month based on the NMD. So we could group them together in theory to try and keep things simple. So because there's more than 10 charges on the current Megaflex, the current Munich Flex tariffs, we're going to have to amend this slightly so we can fit all the charges in. So you can see over here this little table that I've made. This has got the charges before as they currently are, and then how I'm going to group them together to make sure we can fit everything in. And you'll notice I'm just going to make these, or actually let me do it here. These two cells, I'm going to make them orange. They're the only ones that have changed. I've grouped ancillary services, electrification subsidy, and legacy charge together because they are all cents per kilowatt hour, and then generation capacity charge. I'm going to also put in a new one over there. So I'm going to just copy this across. If this doesn't make sense, it will in a second. Just want to show you over here. You'll see how now I've made those changes, and you can see how those changes are reflected here. The reason why I've done this is because if you go to Eskom Munich Flex for 25-26, you can see there's now this legacy charge and the generation capacity charge, which were previously not charges that we were used to seeing. So we've had to add those in, and that's why we needed to make more space in the tool. So if we quickly go back to the cost of supply tool, you can see how now we've got our appropriate charges and units of measurement. Just one or two other things to look out for. Firstly, in the case of active energy charge, that is a time of use charge where you get off-peak, standard, and peak. None of these charges are charged on time of use, as you can see in the Eskom tariff book. If you want to change that, say for example, you don't get charged time of use, just as an example, you could make this false, and then it would blank out those other charges over there. But because that's not the case here, I'm going to leave that as true. Then we go back to Eskom. All right. So now that we've got everything set up, it's time to start populating these yellow cells. You only fill in the yellow cells. If we go to the tariff book, you would firstly have to select for your municipality, for the specific endpoint, which transmission zone it falls under, and which supply voltage it has. I'm not going to go into this in this video, but it is in the Eskom tariff book. Essentially, the transmission zone is how far away your municipality is from the main generation hub of South Africa. So Joburg would be close to the main generation hub, and Cape Town would be further away. Then the supply voltage, this is just the voltage that the Eskom transmission network then supplies your intake point to the municipality. And depending on the combination of these two things, you'll get different charges. So that's something to look out for high and low season. Typically, if we were doing this, we would go one by one, peak season, high peak season, put it into the tool, high season standard, put it into the tool. But I've made a tool here, oh wait, I'm already in it, that does this job for you. So what you need to do, if you're using Munich Flex, is you just select your supply voltage. You can see how these change. You select your transmission zone and your customer category size. You can see a whole bunch there. Once you've done that, it has populated everything already for you according to this order of things. So if you're going to use this tool, you must make sure that what you've got in your cost of supply model here, these headings in this order match these headings in this order. You've got that done, then all you need to do is copy everything and then paste it in here. What you must do is you right click, say paste values. If you don't paste values, then you'll paste formulas and everything, and that could break your model. So once you've done that, you go to low season, you repeat, you go copy, you go down to the low season, you paste the values, and then you've done everything that you need to do. Once you've done that, you can move on to the next intake points, depending on how many you've had. And then once you've done all of your intake points, it's important just to check, do a sense check, compare this to the tariff book, make sure that all of your relevant charges are right, make sure that it matches what you would have been charged on your Eskom bills. Obviously, things won't be the same because your Eskom bills might be using a year zero. Your Eskom power purchases will be using a different year. However, the structure should be pretty similar. And then once you've done that, you are good to carry on to the next step.